From the industry through the community, right into your home. It's the Green Room, and we're on. What's going on, everybody? It's Les from Cannabis Wiki. We are here with our award-winning cannabis social influencer, also best-selling author with over 2 million Facebook followers and over 130,000 Instagram followers. Our North American cannabis flower. She don't like being called the Big Drip. You're Jackie Childs.
Hey guys, welcome to the Green Room. What's up?
What's going on, Pot?
What'd you call me? Pot?
Jackpot.
Oh, yeah, I like that. I like that. What's going on, Pot?
Right.
I like that. Trying to fight my way for toilet paper and hand sanitizer and all that shit.
It's a lot. Everybody has to.
I'm gonna order a bidet. They're on Amazon for $60. It's called the Tushy, and you stick it to the side. Just
is that warm water coming out of that?
I don't know. Good question. If it's cold, I'll pee a lot more.
Oh man. Oh man. So yes, we know that everybody must be washing their hands a little more vigorously, a little more self-diligence.
And the perfect time for the washing is with the Cannabis Wiki theme song. The cannabis,
right?
Yeah, wash your hands. Whoa, what's going on?
Ooh, hey.
I know. Our special guest is on the move.
Our special guest is just freaking.
That was me.
We don't know what happened to him, but he got on the move. So,
Lester, why don't you just introduce our special guest, because he clearly can't wait his turn.
Hey, today, guys, we have from HybridPharm
in Ottawa,
in
our nation's capital, where they have coronavirus.
Oh yeah.
Right in the house.
The prime minister.
Yeah, his wife.
His wife.
Yeah.
Has got a little bit of the corona.
I wonder what self-quarantine looks like for the prime minister.
Jeez. I don't know.
Anyway, I'm I self-quarantine every 14 days or so anyhow, so we're good.
Something to make you
introduce our guest. Rahim from HybridPharm. This is you introducing our guest. Canada's first compounding pharmacy. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
am I right?
This is
Rahim. Who are you?
Hi. I'm right here. Can you hear me?
What the heck?
I'm just running around, to be honest. I was like, oh shit.
Who are you, Rahim? What the hell?
Introduce yourself. Let people know who you are. We know that you are
a pharmacist.
So my name's Rahim. I like long walks on the beach. And
he has a really beautiful
So no, I'm a pharmacist. I live in Ottawa, grew up in Ottawa, and my family was, family of medicine. My mom was a doctor, my dad was a pharmacist, and I started a cannabis specialty pharmacy here because I knew that cannabis is such an important medicine. And honestly, recently I had this almost existential crisis where I'm like, half the drugs I'm dispensing, half the drugs we grew up with and we were taught in school, I really don't believe in anymore. Mm-hmm. And I just start seeing this whole new realm of cannabis, yes, one, but even psychedelics and, MDMA, mushrooms, LSD, these things are so profoundly important that we need to be starting to talk about this more. We need to start being able to open this up to the community and have a place where you can go and talk about this with a professional. Not just go and self-medicate and not just go and do what you have to do, but let's bring this to the forefront.
So what was it?
My thought.
What was it exactly that made you interested into it?
16 years old, ripping an alien bong for the first time.
That's my
Actually, my sister caught me in my basement and told my parents, I'm like, what are you doing? You're only 3 years older than me. You smoke too. What do you... But I've always been interested in it. I've been a user recreationally. But I think fundamentally what changed my whole perspective of it was when my father was going down the cancer path. And I've read up on it previous to that, but I started diving into it more and more and starting to look at the studies, look at the research, look at the cancer research, and I exposed my parents to that world. And they are the most religious people. They never drank, never smoked. They definitely disowned us and gave us lectures all the time when they caught us. But
stigmatized.
At that point, they were like, all right, let's try this because we don't want him using opioids. He was getting a lot of nausea, vomiting. He was having muscle wasting. It was stage 4 colon cancer. Wow. So within 1 year span, it was just went away. So it was a hard thing to watch, but I think I really saw something out of that.
What was the
I remember one time I was actually using the Metrum oil. Remember Metrum back in the day?
Yep.
I took the oil. I gave him the same dose, and I took the same dose. And I knew, I'm like, you must be stoned. Holy shit, because I was flying. So at that point, we had a really good conversation, bedside conversation, and it just things were rolling for like the next like 2 hours, and it was just a really fundamental, like almost like spiritually enlifting thing that I experienced with him, and that was like the first time I really like connected at that point during his sickness. So it was since that point we had a lot of like family members, friends, colleagues come up to me and be like, how did you start this? How did you go about it? What are you doing? How should I dose? And I just saw such an important need for patients to get proper access.
So pharmacist to pharmacist, did you get any negativity when you like backlash when you came out and said we're gonna be using cannabis? We want to promote. Not only we want to promote, we're gonna use plant medicine. Were they mad at you?
Like from the pharmacy community?
Yeah, doctors.
I think it's a lot of misconception. I think that a lot of them don't understand it yet, or they're not been taught, because we never taught this in school. We never taught the endocannabinoid system. That's it's barely being taught right now.
Right.
But I think they're at the point where most pharmacists, most professionals don't have that enough education or evidence-based medicine to start saying, yes, do this for patients. I see it on the flip side. We do have a lot of evidence. There is a lot of significant evidence showing that it's actually reducing harm, and it's a really harm reduction strategy tool. And we should be promoting the fact of safe and responsible consumption.
Right.
On a medical side, even for advising patients, this interacts with medications. This can, this dose can cause you X, Y, and Z. So it's I think it's super important that we as pharmacists get involved in this. And I feel like it's a huge negative connotation, because most people think pharmacy, big pharma.
Right.
Right.
That's why you say you're
Most
my favorite farmer.
Was that?
You say you're my favorite farmer. Get it?
Yeah,
PH?
I mean, I'll tell you, most pharmacists that work in the retail setting are not big pharma at all. They are there to help patients and guide them through their medication therapies. The big pharma is the people like.
They don't want to create this opioid crisis. The pharmacists aren't to blame. They're not the ones prescribing. They're just doing their job.
You're being mixed up with that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we were just getting handed prescriptions, and there is like this kind of like conundrum, right? If you're a pharmacy owner, you're a business owner, so you see a prescription, that's money, but at the end of the day, you're still also looking out for the best patient, the best thing for that patient.
Right.
So you're kind of tied between, I'm getting script after script after script. Oh, good, this is good for my business, but is it good for the patient? That's another story.
Right.
So if I come to your pharmacy, and I hand you my Seroquel prescription and say, I want what can I do? I want off this, or can cannabis help me? What do you advise, or what are those conversations like?
So if you're handing me a script for like medicines that may interact with cannabis, I would tell you like how much to be using, what to avoid, what type of side effects this might actually cause. So like things like, I'll give you an example that I see a lot. People who are on Cymbalta. So Cymbalta is it's an antidepressant, but it's also for like neuropathic pain. There's a lot of different uses. So people who smoke weed, you're actually inducing one of your enzymes called 1A2, and that's how it gets metabolized. When you smoke, you're inducing that.
Okay.
Cymbalta is actually metabolized by that same thing. So you're actually like pumping out. You're getting a lot lower levels of Cymbalta. So it's a common thing when I talk to, because we do clinical consultations here for medical cannabis prescriptions. We see a lot of patients on these type of medications. So we just warn them and we tell them like, this is what you're going to expect. This is what you should look out for. If you're having a reduction in your therapy, it's probably due to the interaction between cannabis and other things, other methods. So
interesting.
When you're a compounding pharmacy, and this is where I get my suppositories. Do you see a lot of people coming to you for things like that? Like what are they coming to you for? What are people asking for?
So with compounding, it's the art and science of making different dosage forms, and that's really what pharmacy was all about back in like 30s, 40s. Like I think as history repeats itself, we're going to come back to this whole wave of compounding, and of individualizing medication, especially with cannabis. Everyone knows cannabis is so individualized. And I want to get to the point, and we can't do this at this point, but I want to get to the point where we can actually take cannabis in any form and start manipulating it so we can actually fit your genetic makeup and we can fit what is best suited for you. So if you wanted like a strain that, like, say you like a strain like, I don't know, Jack Herer, and you want something that's more focused and you want to help with your ADHD, you start introducing more pinene into that. Right. So you make an oil with like a Jack Herer type of strain, introduce pinene, introduce like another CBG, CBN, like you can start isolating all the different cannabinoids. I think that's important, like, because we need to understand how this drug works. We need to break it down. It's like Humpty Dumpty, Right. Let them fall off the wall. Break it completely apart, and let's reconstruct it and see how it works.
So now this information needs to be shared on both sides, right? Like, as you're acquiring more information about the plant, the end user needs to know more information about the plant for you to be able to give me the best.
Totally.
Right?
Oh, totally. I think so there's a lot of like talk about like pharmacogenetics and testing your endocannabinoid system. That is totally going to be a thing. I think it's too early at this point because it's so variable and we don't know exactly what we're looking for, right? There's a lot of different enzymatic issues. There's a lot of different receptor sites, and that's why like I have patients who can take like 0.25 mLs of like a 10 milligram per ml CBD oil and be just fine. And that's like a super low dose.
Right.
But then you have other patients on the flip side are taking like 50 to 80 milligrams of CBD, and they're like, that's my goal. So I'm like, it's hard to pinpoint why is that such a difference in some people. Right?
So what you're saying, or what I'm gathering is that there really needs to be more communication between everybody about learning more on both ends, your end and on the user's end.
But wait,
whether medicinally or recreationally.
He said in school they weren't taught much about it. So where are you learning this? Like, where are you? Is this just like, how are you getting your knowledge?
Do a lot of studies, a lot of like PubMed searches. You do a lot of like the certification courses, like documentary. Like anywhere that says read on it, I'm like, oh, what's that? Like I'm interested. I grasp it up, like. So it is kind of a gathering of all these different resources, and like I'm happy now that Canada legalized it. We can actually start researching it because we're going to start seeing so much more robust research before like what was available.
Can you walk us through, like, I'm coming to your pharmacy for what? Do I have a prescription in my hand? Do I have weed in my hand? How do we go about this? I show up at HybridPharm, and now what?
So you could come for a couple reasons. If you are coming in just for a regular prescription, you can come in and get a regular prescription. If you're coming in for a compounding prescription, drop it down. I'll do it up for you and come and pick it up 24 hours later. If you wanted a cannabis prescription, then we do a whole intake process where the patient would fill out an intake form. We gather some, past medical history, relevant data, and then we would sit down with them with my nurse practitioner that sees patients here about once a week. We would do a full consultation, get them prescribed their medical cannabis, and then teach them like which ones to use, how to use it, how much to dose, doing full interaction checks. And then they come in for like follow-ups every like 3 to 6 months, 9 months, depending on the patient. And then, so we can't dispense it yet, but we actually have applied for a license with Health Canada to have medical sales with possession. So we'd actually be able to house cannabis products here and be able to distribute to our patients.
Wow.
So that's coming.
That's big.
Is it coming? That's coming.
That's coming. Yeah, we've been in talks with them for the past year now, and so it's been going back and forth. So it is in the works. It's not official, but it's on its way.
Because when my first experience with it, there's kind of a wait. It's like I need my prescription, but there's kind of the process how it is now. There's a little bit of a wait. Like you don't leave the drugstore or the pharmacy with your prescription. There's a lot of will that change?
I find like, especially with patients, like they don't want to wait. They want the medication yesterday.
Yeah.
Now going through this whole process, it's super confusing for people who are like, even like 55 plus. Like imagine your grandma going and doing this whole entire thing. Mm-hmm. They have no idea what to do, and they get confused along the way. And then you have all these recreational stores opening up, which is wonderful, great. That's good for us. That's good for the community. It's not good for patients because you get 1 out of like 3 to 4 people walking in those rec stores needing medical advice. Where are they going?
To
right?
a 20-year-old bud tender.
The place they can only go is like those clinics or maybe their doctor if they're in the know, but they don't have a place to go and actually access it and pick it up. And then you get people complaining about post office delays and it's sitting on the truck and they lost my prescription. It took me a week to get authorized and yada yada. The list goes on and on. Like, and I really feel like even in like these states, you look at like the stats and you look at like medical versus recreational. It's not that medical is going away. It's not that it's dissipating. It's that it's being called something else because there's no access points for that.
Right.
And that's what's happening here, right? It's like everyone's going to the rec store. And I see people coming in like, oh, the bud tender told me to get a sativa because I needed more energy. I'm like, Jesus Christ. You're on X, Y, and Z. You have anxiety. You have heart issues. You have cardiac conditions. And now you're getting a sativa. No wonder you called the paramedics. No wonder you had a bad time.
Right.
Like, so yeah.
So yeah, he gets all.
Well, I can understand your frustration. It's a very gray area and a poor mishandling of this rollout of legalization.
Well, he's saying like, imagine your grandparents trying to get it. So like, they're on to something really great here. But it's a hurry up and wait situation. When I need a prescription, I need it today or tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I can't wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And I'm nervous about all the hands that are in the pot now. It would be so much easier or better or whatever if it was like a real pharmacy. And I say real pharmacy, meaning like Shoppers Drug Mart, where I go, I pick up my asprin or pick up my whatever, and I have my little consultation with the pharmacist and I leave.
Right.
So is that your hopes that that's what you will be? It will all be there and you need your weed or your whatever, you'll have it all there.
Totally.
That's your end game?
Obviously, we all know Shoppers has their medical sales license.
Right.
Rexall has it now too under the well.ca. So they're all gearing up. All these big conglomerates are gearing up for this.
Right.
I think the key to making this really successful is having this, pun intended, hybrid approach.
So does it?
Pun intended.
So Rahim, does that help you that Shoppers is applying for that and Rexall is applying for that? Does it make it easier for you to get to your goal of being able to distribute?
I think they've paved the way for sure, right?
Okay.
They've set precedents and they have that lobbying power. They have that massive bankroll to actually help get this to the forefront into pharmacies. So they definitely, kudos to them for getting that going, because that helps us all other independent pharmacies for sure.
Right.
I think that going back to the hybrid approach, I think the key to this too is getting people on your team that understand both the pharmacy world and both the black market world. And that I think is the most crucial thing to understanding cannabis, because it's not just one way. I'll be honest, I don't know that much about it. I know a lot about the scientific and that aspect of it, but someone like some of our colleagues like Angelo that was here, there's a whole other world that is so diverse and so complex that you need both sides. You need bud tenders in here and you need pharmacists in there working together. There's places in the United States, like I think it's Ohio and Utah, that actually have pharmacy dispensaries. So you can have a dispensary, but you can't operate it or sell one nug of weed until there's a pharmacist in there.
Oh, wow.
So it's a nice, it's a hybrid model. So now you're getting both bud tenders in there, you're getting pharmacists in there, you're getting healthcare practitioners,
right.
And you're having this nice conglomerate model, which is fantastic because it just improves patient outcomes.
Are you seeing a drop in opioid prescriptions since cannabis legalization or no?
Me personally, I'm taking people off opioids for sure.
Right.
We're getting I've had patients with 12 opioids per day. They're taking 12 pills per day. They're down to one or none.
Wow.
Some of them are off of their gabapentin, their Lyrica, their Cymbalta, their benzos, their SSRIs. I've tapered a couple people off of. So there is such a huge pill sparing effect with cannabis, which I think the pharmacy world needs to really understand and realize. If you're not getting on board with this, you can start watching your script counts go down, because this is actually really helping people.
So now, from where we are now in legalization, how would you say, are we still finding new opioid patients coming out? Or is the overall declining?
There's always a time and place for opioids, for sure. It's a medicine at the end of the day, just like cannabis is, right? And I had a lot of people actually coming recently about, I'm going for surgery, but I don't want to use opioids, and I want to use cannabis. And I'm like, well, that's the perfect time when opioids are actually recommended and actually used is during like surgery and like 1 to 3 days afterwards to help with that rapid onset of pain.
Right.
After that, like, there's no use. There's long-term pain management, not opioids. It should be cannabis. And I think in my setting, in my world, with the healthcare practitioners, I think the day that cannabis is going to get the recognition it deserves is the day that we can actually put cannabis ahead of opioids on treatment algorithms.
Wow.
That's when you're going to start seeing every single prescriber being like, okay, I'll do it. If my college says I can do it, I'll do it.
Right.
And it should be, because obviously we all know the death rate with cannabis versus opioids. Like, it's
So what? The only thing holding that up is what? Analytical data?
randomized control trial data, research, evidence-based data, placebo-controlled trials. And I think if that can prove out more efficacy versus opioids, you're going to start seeing that bump up. Because right now it's like fourth line in treatment therapy.
Right.
You have to fail 3 other things in opioids before you can actually get to cannabis.
Did you hear that? You got to fail 3 other things.
Prescribing protocol.
Did you say you got to fail 3 other things before you can go to cannabis?
Yeah, I think it's 2 or 3.
Wow. Are you going to tell your buddy you're doing a podcast right now? Hey, bud, we're on the green room, man. You didn't sign the waiver.
I'm in the green room right now.
Come on. Dream smoking. You're so funny. So I guess it's still lots to do in the cannabis space, but if let's talk next wave for a minute. Would that be plant-based meds as far as mushrooms? Is that the next?
Oh God, I hope so. And I've seen a lot of like, there's a bunch of like, MAPS and like the Sport and Company. And I saw this new clinic starting in Toronto called the Field Trip Health.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Like, everyone's starting to go down the path of like psychedelic assisted therapy. And we already have that with like ketamine.
Right.
Like, ketamine can be used for like treatment resistant depression, and even topically it's amazing for pain. But you're going to start seeing more of these like clinics come down. And actually, I have a close friend that went down to the States for this, because there's only one clinic right now is in Toronto, and they're like booked up to for 9 months or so.
Wow.
But it is definitely
in the States.
I'm 100% no, it's the next wave, and I foresee this actually taking down SSRIs. Like, I think SSRIs are being way overprescribed, and they are useful in some situations, but if you can use a drug for 1 day out of the month versus every single day, that's an improvement.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah, that's real.
What's the number one drug, like a pharmacy? Pharmaceutical drug? What is being prescribed the most? What do you see? Like, what prescription are you writing the most? Is it antidepressants? Like,
I would probably say it's like Cipralex, which is an SSRI.
I was on that.
Or
Wellbutrin, Cipralex, Ativan.
Probably that. Yeah. Those ones. Things.
Those good.
It really, honestly, I noticed that. Like, when I worked in different pharmacies, you start noticing different areas of like socioeconomic status, and so depending on what area you're in the city or in the country, you're going to start seeing different prescribing models. Like, when I worked in Boston, for example, where I was in like a lower economic store, and what I saw the most was birth control, Viagra.
Birth control, Viagra.
And I worked in a really, really rich place, and what I saw more was Valium and SSRIs. Right. And I just, like, in my head, I'm like, well, you're poor and you're happy and you're having a lot of sex and you're having fun. Great. You're rich and you have problems and you're always, miserable, sad and depressed. It's just kind of, it's kind of
actually
neat to see the different trends of depending on where you live. And
when
that's interesting.
When my doctor wrote me the very first prescription I ever had for it was Cipralex and Ativan came together. Cipralex I was going to take every day, and then Ativan was going to be like my top up or as needed for certain situations. I was really upset, and she's like, Jackie, everyone's on them. All of your neighbors. She's like, I don't know why you're feeling this shame. Or she's like, I'm the doctor here in town, the town that you live in. Yeah. Everyone is on these. I don't know why you're feeling. I was just like, oh my God, we're all on them. So that makes this a good thing. Okay. It's horrible. We're all on them. And exactly like you're saying, I guess by different, you could tell where my parents lived in Detroit, and my mom would wait for prescriptions in Detroit for hours while everyone was picking up their birth control. She's like, oh, that must be check day. We're all getting our birth control.
Man.
So, oh God. So last time we met, or last time we saw you, you had a new line of these the stuff that stick up your nose and put on your chest. I can't remember what they're called, but they were compounded with essential oils and whatever. Now we have the coronavirus outbreak. Do you know what I'm talking about with stuff?
I totally know what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. Now talk about cannabis and
terpene
corona.
infused over-the-counter products. Like we had a chest rub. For, like the Vicks, when back in your day when your mom or dad put it on and you're all congested. Right. So we turned that into like a little bar and put like some terpenes like eucalyptol and pinene in there because pinene is a bronchodilator. We have like one called Muscle Ease, which is like a magnesium menthol eucalyptol for like just muscle spasms and stiffness, tightness, stuff like that. So now what we're doing for the coronavirus, I'm making a hand sanitizer.
Oh, okay.
It's going to have nerolidol, geraniol, and the other one, limonene.
And why?
And those three, actually, I tried to look up a couple studies. These three are specific to like antibacterial properties. So, but they smell nice and it's very floral. Yeah, it's such a need right now. Everyone's ransacking like Costco and like it's madness.
Yeah, for real. I've had friends send me pictures of the last 48 hours of different for either their pharmacy like Shoppers Drug Mart or wherever in the States or their Walmart or Costco, and Purell and like the hand sanitizers and the Lysols are gone, and toilet paper. Those are the things that are gone. What's the toilet paper?
I guess that's what you do when you're isolated.
You shit all day. Yeah, like do you know as a pharmacist, coronavirus and shitting, what's the correlation there? Do you know?
No, well, I mean, when you have a virus, it can affect the GI. This one's more respiratory, right?
Okay.
This one's more like SARS.
Okay.
And it's more like, bronchial, like shortness of breath and coughing, wheezing, things like that. But any virus, any type of sickness, you can actually get like diarrhea, fever. I mean, last time you had the flu, didn't you shit your pants all the time?
No, I didn't.
I think I did.
I don't think I did. I didn't eat very much, so I was.
Well, it goes.
Yeah, that could be more bacterial at sometimes, but yeah, it's.
Have you seen any coronavirus stuff coming in? Because you're in Ottawa, right? Is there coronavirus?
Yeah, not really. We have. So I was looking at like the stats and stuff like that. Ontario is like the highest with number of cases in Canada, but I think Ottawa may have had one confirmed case and/or death from it, but. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, eh?
It is kind of crazy. Are you scared?
Like, everything started shutting down. Like I was supposed to go see Cats this weekend, and now NAC just shut that down. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
So from a pharmacist perspective, is it too much? Are we going too far, or are we doing the right steps? Is this the right thing we should do in something like this situation?
I think what we're doing is we're mimicking what happened with SARS, and SARS is a coronavirus, right? Mm-hmm. So I think what the whole world is trying to do, this is why the WHO actually said this is a pandemic, was to get everyone
WHO, not the band, the World Health Organization,
socializing and stop congregating, because that's how you can stop the spread of the disease.
Right.
And it is pretty infectious. It is a really high infection rate. It has a long incubation period. It's a 14-day incubation period. Like the flu and even like SARS was about like 10 days or so.
Okay.
So you can be sick longer, infect more people and not knowing it. So that's why they're trying to just shut everyone down. Everyone stay away for like 14 days and just let's kill the virus while we can. Right. So it seems just almost erratic that everyone's buying toilet paper and you have no food in any Costco anywhere or like any grocery store, but it is a little bit like, okay guys, let's calm down a little bit.
What should we have on hand in our like what should we have on hand in our medicine cabinets at home? So if we're getting ready to batten down the hatches for 14 days, what, as far as pharmaceuticals or what you provide, should we have? What was your advice for us?
Your typical, like, get your fluids, your electrolytes, get your like hand sanitizer, cleaning supplies, things like that. And just honestly,
aspirin, Tylenol. What do you
don't go crazy. You don't have to do things. Some people like to. So there is one vitamin over the counter, zinc.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Zinc actually, like some people can take that during like flu season. That's a big seller during flu season.
Okay.
Zinc can actually penetrate like viral cell walls and actually shorten the period time. But there's no real cure or what to do about if you have it. You just have to
So-
maintain fluids and rest and isolation and just stop trying to spread it to everybody.
Huh.
But yeah,
Some
zinc is interesting because
Zinc makes me
even
sick.
as a guy, as a
Zinc
dude,
makes me
man,
hurt.
every time you masturbate and ejaculate, you lose about 2 to 3 milligrams of zinc.
What?
Yeah, man.
Hold on a sec. Hold on. Hold on.
I have a feeling Lester's zinc free.
Say that again. Say that again.
Stop touching your wiener.
This is
You're losing all your
important
zinc.
information.
Okay, tell us again.
Every time you
Yes.
come, you will lose zinc, and it's,
Right.
I think it's about like 1 to 3 milligrams or something like that. I have to look up that study that
And then,
this
so
company
you need
has.
to replenish your zinc, or does your body does it make it naturally, or what? No.
Well, you can find zinc naturally, like I think in seafood and like oysters are like loaded in that.
Oh, okay.
So what happens
But
to
yeah,
the body?
This would be just more supplementation.
So what
People
happens?
actually supplement zinc during
Supplement
like
zinc.
flu seasons, cold seasons, just
Okay.
to help shorten the duration of a virus.
All right. So what happens when the body's deprived of zinc?
You get scurvy.
Yeah,
No, I don't know.
That you start losing like muscle function, like so things can happen because it is important for like stability. But I don't want to speak too much about it because I don't know what happens if you have a zinc deficiency.
Because now he's
Like
making it up.
I need to
No.
talk about because
Well, he touched on something. He touched on something big here. So every time you
Jerk off.
no. Every time you come,
Oh.
you're losing a little bit of zinc.
yeah, your sperm is loaded with it.
Right. So that's an important
So
thing.
some women have a lot of zinc.
And some men are losing a lot of zinc. Right?
Oh my god.
But hey, that I pick up on those important things.
This is
There
our
you go.
my Drew, he calls him our overeducated friend, and this is our soundbite from our overeducated friend. Every time you come. Can you, before we head out, can you just touch on why suppositories and how they're made and how they're different for everyone and the need for them?
How is it being accepted? Lester's curious about how suppositories are being accepted.
He's like, why and how high?
It's
and how
new.
the
It's
dose?
new to me. So,
Suppositories
Yes.
are totally game changing for cannabis. So there's the reason why, like, so in the uterine wall and in the vaginal wall, a lot of women suffer from endometriosis or vulvodynia. So it's like painful vaginal vulva area is inflamed. It's painful. Insertion's painful. Endometriosis is really when you have your endometrial cells are actually dislodged from the uterine walls and start growing elsewhere.
Right.
So that's why when women who have this will have like really painful like menses. They'll have a lot of discharge, even heavy flow, or they're just bedridden for their time during their cycle. So what the conventional therapy is right now is you're taking Valium and you're taking a muscle relaxant called baclofen, and you're using that as a vaginal suppository.
Wow.
So what that does do is help with muscle relaxation. But what it doesn't do, and what CBD and THC does, is anti-inflammatory. And THC acts as a muscle relaxant. CBD acts as an anti-inflammatory. That can actually slow the progression of the growth, and that's a big thing with CBD, right?
Wow. That's
The
crazy.
reason why people are using this instead of the traditional baclofen diazepam suppositories is that it causes a lot of side effects. A lot of women are tending to be a lot more lethargic and tired throughout the day. But when we started using the suppositories with CBD THC at a 1-to-1 ratio, this is when women are like, oh my God, I can actually get my life back. I can actually start having sex again,
Right.
like penetrative sex, and
Right.
my menstrual cycle's not as bad. I don't have to take as much Advil. So they've found it really, really positive.
So what do dudes need to?
Yeah, but wait, should
Hold on.
Lester be sticking a suppository up his ass?
So
on a
dudes
second.
also can use
Dude-
suppositories.
No.
rectally,
I
and
want to know what dudes
a
need.
lot of
Yeah, go.
like a lot of men, like either prostate cancer or lower GI issues with like IBS or Crohn's colitis. If they have lower GI issues, even like protruding anal fissures or hemorrhoids, using suppositories will actually go direct to the site. So you're not taking it orally, and you're not going through the first pass effect and taking that long time to absorb. You're going right to the site where it's having that function. So we've had a couple patients where they were using rectal suppositories, first time in 10 years that his inflammation levels were at its lowest it's ever been.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I can't believe that, man. That's amazing. And that's been only like 3 months of use.
Yeah, they work.
So-
They really, really work.
Yeah.
So if it's a higher level of THC or a hot CBD or whatever, how come you don't get high from a suppository? Why does everyone asks this question?
You're not metabolizing it in the liver to 11-hydroxy.
What?
Tetrahydrocannabinol. 11-hydroxy is a lot more potent metabolite of THC. This is why, like, when you eat brownies or when you eat any edibles, you're ingesting it, it gets metabolized to the liver. The liver makes a more potent metabolite, which lasts a lot longer. So that's why when you're eating it, edible high is like what, 7 hours, 8 hours,
Yeah.
Right.
versus smoking.
Right.
It's in and out. So with going locally with like suppositories, like vaginal, rectal, or even topically, it's
in and out.
bypassing that whole liver effect.
Okay, so it's in
It's
and
still going
out.
to get metabolized, but
Right.
yeah.
So, okay, we talk about all the everybody doing this wrong and that wrong, and government's too slow, and this happened, or whatever. Is there anyone is there anyone that you guys like recommend, or that you're like looking up to, or that you work with that are doing it right in the cannabis space as far as LPs or whatever? Is there anyone that you guys you're impressed with?
I'm going to say, I don't want to call out any names, because all the LPs that said they were medical, what are they doing now? They're not actually supporting patients. There's not one LP that has a topical preparation, a suppository preparation, patches, or anything that's actually patients are needing. They're busy making gummy bears and chocolates and vape pens. That's wonderful, but that's more recreational than we think.
Right.
And that's not what people are looking for. That's not what people are asking. Like, I get 10 people a day coming in here asking for topicals or suppositories or alternate dosage forms that are not available. So I'm wondering what the hell all these big LPs are doing,
Right.
to be honest.
Huh.
So is the message being brought out there enough about the suppositories? Is there enough talk about it? Because I'm learning now.
And
as we
patches.
speak.
When you said a patch, do you guys make patches?
No, there's a company in the States that's doing patches. So it is coming. Like, it's a transdermal application.
Okay.
I'm sure some LPs are going to jump all over that, because it is an
Transdermal.
amazing form. You can replace lidocaine patches and fentanyl patches. You can start using THC,
Damn.
CBD. Like, it'd be fantastic. The
Wow.
suppository, like, I don't think there's enough data or anything. Everyone's just running around scared. And like, I'll take you, for example, Jackie. Like, you came out to me, you're like, I do it on my own. I use cocoa butter. And like, I've had all kinds of stories of all kinds of women telling me they put all kinds of things up there. And I'm like, like, let's get this more professional. Let's get
Right.
this down to a science, because that's what it is, right?
Right.
Data.
And it's needed. Oh my
Data.
God. Endometriosis is wow.
Right. And let's start using like actual real suppositories. We have real formulas that can actually help with this application. So
Right.
yeah, no, it's
So
it's,
patches, the
I
transdermal. And
I see it as some
we're
knowledge.
really infant right now in this stage, right? And this is where I think all LPs are just kind of, they're almost looking at, I feel like they're looking at each other and being like, okay, who's doing what now? Let's follow the
Right.
stream.
Right.
Let's
But
make some gummy bears.
what they should be listening to is the patients, and because the patients are not asking for gummy bears and chocolate, they're asking for topicals, they're asking for
Well, the patients are the
suppositories,
community.
they're asking for alternate forms, higher dosages, lower prices, like
Right.
so.
Yeah.
It's
What's
kind of
if you
it's
could-
conflicting on when I'm
if you're
talking
gonna
about it with different LPs, but
if you're gonna mix something,
we use a variety of different LPs, and it really depends on patient demographics, right?
Right.
Depends on if they have compassion pricing. It depends on what they're looking for: flowers versus oils versus capsules versus vapes versus so.
if you were
there's
gonna
a lot of
compass
choice.
something, if you were gonna make a magical something in your little what's that thing, mortar and pestle thing, what would you mix? Would it be cannabis and cayenne pepper? Would it be cannabis and turmeric? Would it be like what's a concoction that's like something that can
For
really
what I missed the first part of that.
well, just anything. I mean, I don't know. You're a mad scientist. Like, I just picture you in there with your lab or your dungeon with your freaking, the metal thing or whatever it is, the stone thing. What cannabis and what is like the perfect together?
Voodoo potion.
See, I don't know. I can't answer that one. I
No,
don't know,
like
but
that's what I was saying.
I
Was it
think
cannabis and
I would love to
cayenne or
start seeing us being able to do like cannabis and ketamine, and
oh.
because ketamine is a fantastic topically. It's fantastic.
What
Because
is
it activates
ketamine?
different receptors than what CBD and THC do.
Tell us
So
quickly
what-
what ketamine
what is
Combination,
ketamine?
it's entourage effect, right? We all love that word, entourage effect, especially in the cannabis industry. let's start using alternate things too, like alternate drugs like ketamine or diclofenac, or
What is ketamine? What is ketamine?
It's an NMDA receptor antagonist.
What's that
so
mean?
when you're having a lot of it actually blocks calcium channels, and similar to like what THC does. So THC does also block calcium channels. So if you're having a lot of pain and a lot of neurotransmission activation, ketamine can actually bind to the receptors and actually shut that down and stop it.
Oh.
So it is like when you take it orally, you take it IV. It's a disassociative. It's a psychedelic. It's what's it called?
Fun.
An animal trank. That's what they use it for, like on the streets and things. Like it is a total suppressive, but when you use it in different forms, like topically, it can be a fantastic pain management medication.
Well, I think the pharmacy just became a nightclub, so we're gonna wrap this up. Can you hear the music? And he's talking about ketamine and yeah, Rahim.
That's my acid jazz playlist.
It's acid jazz.
Okay. Rahim, you're wild. I love it.
And maybe Lester will contact you privately to talk about some suppositories.
Hey, the suppository game is that is some vital information I think men need to be aware of to be able to participate better sexually with their partners. So if man is aware of what's going on with their partner and he can give the advice of suppository, which may be a good choice for her to enjoy what's going on, I think more men would have a better life.
I still want him to stick one in his ass. Anyhow, Rahim. Thank you for talking to us for a bit. How can people find you if they want to reach out to you guys at Hybrid Farm?
You can find us on Instagram. We're at hybrid_farm, or LinkedIn and Twitter, Hybrid Farm. You can go to our website, hybridfarm.com, and you can see all our services and what we're about. And you can contact us anyway. Follow me on Twitter. I'm at Dhalla Rahim. I chirp a lot about the industry.
Yes, he does. I chirp a lot.
Entertaining.
Well, it's good. It's all good.
It's good. It's definitely lively in that place.
He's got his acid house. Is that what you call it here? Oh, God.
Is it loud?
You're so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Rahim. Thanks for coming by the green room.
Thank you for taking
thanks
time.
so much.
Yeah, we're just going to wrap it up, and thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
Peace, love you guys. You guys are awesome. Keep going with the green room.
Thank you.
Very much. That was good shit.
Yeah, interesting. Lester,
Definitely.
You're so getting a suppository in the bum.
Oh, man. You know what?
We might do a segment on that.
Shots fired, J-Child.
Without a silencer.
It's not going to happen.
Yes, it is.
But I do like being aware of the situation that if men choose to be a little more observant, and they can help their lady partners out a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that he's saying it's so much of a big deal to help women, it's a big thing.
And then people don't want to talk about it. That's why I talk about it constantly as much as I can.
Well, you're the reason why actually I get into it a little bit more. 'Cause I remember I was supposed to have an interview. I don't even know if it was your interview or maybe in Barb's interview, but there was something to come up with the suppositories. And I was like, I had somebody reviewing some information for me. And when I got the review and I saw suppositories, I was like, fuck that. I ain't asking that question, man. I didn't want nothing to do with it. I was like, a little too much to the coochie. You know what I mean? But to hear what's actually behind it and the benefits of it, it really is important.
And everyone asked me, how am I not going to get high on this? And so that's why I was like, it was great to have Rahim come on and discuss.
Rahim is cool as shit. I follow him on Instagram.
Shout out to his partner, Angelo.
And shout out to Angelo.
Yeah.
Angelo. What up? Seem like they're doing good things. I love people that are into what they do. He's passionate. I could feel that. So people go down, check out Rahim.
Yeah, and he'll be around a long time because he's definitely excited for the next wave of.
They may not hear you if you're knocking at the door or something like that because the music is going on inside that place.
It's a party. It's a party at Hybrid Farm.
So, you got any last words for
No,
everybody?
wash your hands. Use some hand sanitizer. Reach out to Hybrid Farms. They've got some hand sanitizers coming your way with some, I think he said limonene and pinene and a whole bunch of other good shit.
Terps.
Right?
So,
that was the topic at Lyft. Terps. All about the terps.
Yeah, for real. All right.
That was fresh and sticky. Keep it locked on Cannabis Wiki.
You heard it there. Boom. We're out. Later.
See you guys.